Let's talk about the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us this week. We saw President Biden out there saying that he's going to be announcing more steps to take on inflation and particularly gas prices this week. What more can he do?
Well, I won't get ahead of the president, but as you have seen throughout this year, he's taken a number of steps, everything from flexibility on ethanol to the release from the Strategic Oil Reserve, to try to create a little bit of breathing room for families that are paying too much at the pump. Also drawing attention to the fact that you've got a lot of corporations that are wildly profitable right now, and what seems to be a larger than usual spread between wholesale oil prices and what we're paying at the pump for gasoline. This is part of a bigger focus that the president has sustained throughout this year on fighting inflation and creating more of that breathing room for American families, which is part of why achievements like the Inflation Reduction Act, lowering the cost of health care, lowering the cost of energy for American families, it's why that's so important, and it's why we can't turn back on the progress that's been made, especially because we know there's still a long way to go.
Right now, as you know, those numbers are weighing on Democrats as you head into the midterms, just about 3 weeks left before the midterm elections. How should Democrats address it?
Look, I think the good policy is good politics, and we have been doing the right thing for the American people with proposals that are and achievements legislatively that are popular because they make sense. That's true of the infrastructure law, which, having been signed about a year ago, now we're actually out there making these improvements to bridges, roads, airports, things around the country that need work. And I think part of what this administration and this president were elected to do was to deliver on things like that. Same with the Inflation Reduction Act. I mean, here you have this environment where Americans are facing a lot of pressure because prices are up, and we have ways to bring prices down. On prescription drugs, letting Medicare finally negotiate, capping insulin for those on Medicare at $35 a month, that $2,000 out-of-pocket cap on prescription drugs. And remember, there are proposals in the Republican Congress right now to reverse all of that, which would mean that premiums and prescription drug costs would go up. And it is exactly the wrong time to do that. It's the wrong time to do anything that would increase costs for health care or anything else for the American people. We're going to focus on that, focus on the achievements that have been made in this Congress and under this president, as well as the vision for the future.
You didn't mention one of the first achievements, those direct payments to American families in the wake of the pandemic, the expansion of the child tax credit. A lot of Democrats think that your candidate should be speaking more about those accomplishments from last year.
Well, we are proud of those accomplishments. You know, the things that those accomplishments have done, first of all, contributing to historic job creation under this president, 10 million plus jobs. That's never happened in this time period in a presidency before in American history. Remember, we have our challenges right now, but when the president took office, we were facing an economy that was at risk of going into free fall. The American Rescue Plan stopped that, and it went directly into easing the burden for Americans with those tax benefits that Americans got, and it went into projects that are improving communities all around the United States. I was back in my hometown, saw some infrastructure projects that they're doing there with some of that ARP money. The mayors know what to do with it, communities know what to do with it, families know what to do with it, and I do think we run the risk because there have been so many accomplishments, right? The CHIPS Act that's bringing manufacturing back to the United States, the PACT Act getting veterans the benefits they deserve, of course the infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act. On top of that American Rescue Plan, you know, in some ways, having achieved so much legislatively makes it hard to talk about it all at once because there are just so many accomplishments.
The threat of a recession is still looming. We saw the head of J.P. Morgan, Jamie Dimon, said it's all but certain to be coming in a few months and it's going to be bad. How worried are you?
Look, it's possible but not inevitable, and we're doing everything we can to strengthen the foundations of the American economy. And that means a lot on the supply side, expanding the productive capacity of this country. Part of why we do see a lot of pressure on prices is that while Demand has come back. Americans have more income because Americans have jobs in this almost historically low level of unemployment. It's been hard for the supply side to keep up. That's a big part of what we're working on the infrastructure side, dealing with some of the bottlenecks that we have, dealing with some of the constraints that we have in transportation infrastructure that's needed to be upgraded for decades, which is why Washington has talked about doing something about it for decades. And under this president, it has finally gotten done.
Secretary Buttigieg, thanks for your time this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.